There you go.
Look, I'm very well. It's really, really great to have you back on the show. And I know that you're currently back home in Australia, taking a breather after a very hectic and exciting year of touring.
It's been incredible, really, to tell you the truth. It's been one of the most incredible years of my life, really, as far as my career is concerned. Notwithstanding the very first year with AC/DC, of course, first records and film clips and all that kind of stuff. But it's just been an amazing year. And I'm glad to be back in Australia, having a well-earned breather. Really, it's just fantastic.
We're going to look over, your busy year later in the interview. But before we get too far into the interview, I just want to briefly focus on the tune which we kicked this show off with, and it's the very cool and loud "Put Up or Shut Up," which, as many fans will know, is lifted off your 2014 EP, Nothing to Prove. I believe that Chris Appleton from UK outfit Absolver had a hand and a couple of co-writes on that EP.
Yes, he co-wrote 3 songs on that EP. He helped with some of the music on those songs. I wrote obviously the lyrics and the melody and some of the riffs as well. But one of the songs, the music was entirely his. It's a sort of metalish feel, which I'm not a metal person, but it was a metalish feel, and I wrote the lyrics and the melody to it, and it came out fantastic and surprised me really. I loved it myself, but I didn't know whether the audience would really like it. It's a little bit different to my normal rock, but the audiences really went off on it. Fantastic. So good on Chris. And it's a special little EP, Nothing to Prove. Also got Baby Please Don't Go on it as well, which is an amazing version, and Chris really rips that up. Fantastic.
Well, Chris is a guy who has done, he's also done a bunch of stuff with former Wolfsbane and Iron Maiden vocalist Blaze Bayley as well. I guess, what did a guy like Chris bring to the table for you back then?
Oh, he's such a talent. He's a fantastic guitarist. My gosh, I mean, boy, oh boy. He's very exciting to listen to and to watch, and he's a hell of a nice person as well, which is fantastic. And I'm a fan of Chris's too. So there you go.
The searing guitar solo halfway through that track is well worth highlighting as well. I really, really dig that. Personally, I think, Dave, that Put Up or Shut Up is one of your strongest tunes, one which you still include in your live set. Now, before we move on, I do just want to share a review online from the time of release by Louise Swift from Planet Mosh, which states, "The opening track, Put Up or Shut Up, is a bit Rockin' in the Free World by Neil Young meets Freeze, Wishing Well, with added screaming riffage and a great refrain." It's quite an accurate summary, I reckon. Part Neil Young, part Free. Nothing wrong with those comparisons, Dave.
Of course not. They're superstars. Put Up or Shut Up, I do it in my set, always do that in my set. And as you know, Dennis, I travel all over the world, all throughout Europe, US and South America, and I always do that song, and it always goes over really fantastically well because it strikes a chord with everybody, actually. Put Up or Shut Up. Everybody's got backstabbers all over the world. You see it all happening on Facebook and everywhere else. And I always say in Australia, we know how to handle these backstabbers. We say to them, put up or shut up. And the crowd loves it. And the song itself, it's got a great feel. And it's one of the most popular songs that I do in my set all over the planet. So I'm glad you brought that one up.
Dave, the past 12 months have been particularly busy with many notable highlights. You've been tearing it up across Europe and South America, which we will look over. And it's been a year which kicked off at an Australia Day gig I attended up in Redcliffe back in January. That was a loud and sweaty night of rock and roll from memory.
That's right. I met you there. It was really nice to meet you, Dennis. And that's where it started. It was the first gig of the year, actually, Australia Day up there in Redcliffe. With some great people up that way, great friends of mine up there, and I kicked off the year. Not a bad way to kick off the year, Australia Day.
No.
It sort of went from there.
Well, shortly after that Australia Day gig, you, from memory, you performed at Bonfest over in Fremantle in February, backed up by a band called the Seedies, I believe, which had special guests Dave Stevens, Bond's son, and Tony Correnti. Must always be an honour for you to do shows like that one, Dave, to honour the memory of Bon Scott.
Yeah, that was nice to be invited over there for Bombfest. I've done Bombfest before a few years ago, so it was nice to go back there, and got great friends over the west, of course, and it was nice to perform there with the boys. It was a great night, and met some new friends as well as some of the old friends, and then after that, of course, when I took off overseas.
Well, I know you've performed with Tony Carenti previously. I think he did a couple of dates in Sicily with you in October of 2017. Now, you helped to lay a lot of the groundwork, which became High Voltage, and of course, Tony played on the recording itself. It's a pretty special thing to have a couple of the AC/DC originators play together, isn't it?
Yeah, it was great, especially since Tony's actually from Sicily originally, and I'd already played in Sicily before. I've already and in Rome as well. So that particular tour was great to have Tony there as well, and it was special. He actually stayed with me at a friend's place for a short while as well. So yeah, it was really fantastic. The crowds, of course, loved it naturally to have like one of the original members of the band there, and Tony, who played on the as a session player on the original first full LP. It was a special shows that we did together, and he's a really nice fellow too. So that's great.
As a side note, and this should have made more of a buzz on social media, well-known photographer Philip Morris was in attendance and taking pics at your Bonfest show on the 15th of February. And I think Philip's attendance is well worth mentioning, a guy who figures large in AC/DC history. He, of course, took the iconic live shots of the band at their debut gig at Checkers. You know, he took the very first studio shots of AC/DC. And as a fan and historian of Australian music, I reckon him looking through the lens at you 45 years after first doing so should have made more headlines, as it's quite significant. So I really wish to bring that to everyone's attention now.
Yeah, that was nice to see Philip there, actually, because, yes, he did take the very first studio shots of us and live shots as well. So he's got those as part of AC/DC history. And, I was surprised, actually, pleasantly surprised to see him at the Bonfest show taking photos of me once again. So yeah, great to see him still rocking. So good.
Now, Dave, also this past year after Bonfest, you jetted over to Romania and Bulgaria, I think, and did some shows with Europe's #1 AC/DC tribute show. And behind the kit was world-renowned rock and metal drummer, a guy called Mike Tenaha, who has worked with many artists: Tony McAlpine, Yngwie Malmsteen, Alex Rudy Pell, Key Marcella, and Rage, to name just a few. I guess, what was it like performing with a drummer of that caliber? He looks pretty powerful.
He is. First I went to Finland and toured there first, and then I think, I can't remember, it's all merging into one. I was over there in Finland at the same time. But yeah, Mike's a fantastic guy. Again, I worked with some of the best people on the planet. And what a drummer. I mean, he's just an incredible drummer, but he's more than just a drummer. Mike's a performer. You know, when Mike's behind the kit, anything's liable to happen. And he's a character in his own right. He's not just, as I say, just a good drummer. He's Mike Tenaha, and everybody knows it. And he's another hell of a nice guy again, a fantastic guy, Mike. And it was brilliant to be there on stage with Mike, and we had a lot of fun together, as we always do. Yeah, he's a good mate.
Maybe you don't know, Dave, but I think AC/DC had a name change and are now calling themselves The Rock. Is that correct?
Well, they were The Rock originally. I toured in Romania a few years ago and did some huge shows with them at a place called the Arena Romani. It's a massive amphitheater replica of the Roman arena. Incredible. So I've already worked with them before as The Rock, and they got with a promoter, a big promoter, who wanted to do certain things, and it was his idea to change it to ACCC. I don't know why. They don't know why either, but a massive sign, ACCC and that kind of stuff. Didn't bother me what it was. You know, I was going to be doing some huge auditoriums over there. So we did and smashed it. But the promoter just didn't really come through with promises that was made. So we ended up, well, not we, but the band went back to the Rock, and they promoted themselves and did fantastically well. We had massive concerts right throughout Romania and Bulgaria and around the place. Fantastic. So we didn't really need the promoter, really, but obviously it would have been nice to take a bit of the workload off the boys in the band who were promoting the band themselves. Personally, of course, I like the Rock, of course. I think it's a fantastic name for a band. And I was saying to them, how come nobody called their band The Rock years ago? It's an incredible name. And so I think they're actually doing a new album at the moment, The Rock. And so, yeah, that's what happened. So for me, I love The Rock. And I love working with those boys. And, of course, Mike Tenaha, of course, plays with them too. Yeah, let's rock with the Rock.
Mate, I guess you're in the unique position where you have guys in bands all over the planet who back you up with your live shows. How often does it progress from a backing band scenario into a situation where you think there's some genuine chemistry here, we might head into the studio, as was the case with Norway's Barbed Wire?
No, not really. I've been very fortunate to have recorded quite a few CDs over the last 10, 12 years with people who, for one reason or another, want to record with me. And like with the Norway boys, we got on very well together and had the chemistry. Which if I joined them as a band, the chemistry's there. That's for sure. There's no doubt about it. Because we wrote the songs together as well. And the CD Wild is a fantastic little CD. If anybody's ever played it, it's one of the favourites with my fans. And we wrote songs together. We worked fantastically well, as with Chris Appleton and in England, where I recorded the Nothing to Prove CD. I could easily be in a band with those boys too. The chemistry's there as well. But for me, I just like to travel the world. It's just me. I get on a plane. I land in whatever country it is. The boys there are waiting for me, and it's just expedient and, of course, cost effective as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm always open to recording projects, as it were, and because I recorded with John Nitzinger in Texas, and they were all Johnny songs because Johnny had been sick with cancer and that kind of stuff in the throat, because he's a singer-songwriter legend. And I was lucky enough for Johnny to ask me to do an album of his songs because we had become friends. So that was another project. I did another CD with David Mobley in Texas, who was actually the executive producer on the Revenge album with me and Johnny, and he liked what I did with Johnny's songs, so he asked me if I could do an album of his songs, which I did. So, and at the moment I've got another project in Los Angeles where a famous songwriter wants me. He's talking to me now about doing 2 songs in January for a project that he's doing at the moment. So we'll just got to see what happens there. He sent me one song. I like it. He's got another song he's sending to me. If he fires me over there from Australia, he knows where I am. Yep. I told him I'm in Australia at the moment. Yeah, I'll be doing some more recording there. So I'm not worried about work or recording. It just seems to come to me. It's I'm sort of fortunate. I'm in a fortunate situation that way. But of course, I've worked a lot of years to get into that situation.
The reason I mentioned that, and I'll quiz you about that later, it is a unique position where you can pick up bands, backing bands in every part of the world. It's something I will touch on a little bit later. But, mate, if I could get my hands on one, I'd be sitting here on the phone with you chugging down a Dave Evans beer, surely having a beer named in your honour, which is what occurred during your recent tour of Brazil. I know this event must rate as a career highlight and is very well deserved, I might add. Absolutely. I couldn't believe it. Brazil, I've just done South America. The whole place is fantastic. I just love the place. And, the Klein Brew House brewed a fantastic beer for me, the Dave Evans beer.
and of course I tried it naturally, and it's a full-bodied malt-flavoured beer. It's fantastic, and I think it's a 9.7 or something alcohol or something like that. The nice big bottle. It's a little bottle, but it's a chunky rock and roll bottle. Everybody that's tried the Dave Evans beer absolutely loves it. So at the time, there's been lots of different bands with their beers, AC/DC beer, Iron Maiden beer, that kind of thing. But I don't know of any single artist in the world that's got a beer named after them, but there is one now anyway. So yeah, what a fantastic honour. And I don't drink beer very often, but when I do, it's a Dave Evans beer.
I like it. Was there also a moonshine or whiskey produced as well?
Yeah, that's right, moonshine as well. The Hard Rock Cafe, they had a plate, Dave Evans plate as well. The big that. Plate, put your sandwiches on or whatever you like. All sorts of things, guitar cables. It's just stuff everywhere. I couldn't believe it. And all absolute top quality, by the way. Affliction, they designed a T-shirt, a couple of T-shirts for me. Absolutely best shirts ever. Fantastic.
I've got a whole bunch of questions about Brazil later in the interview.
Oh, my God,
we really do need to focus a lot of the interview on that. But in researching this interview, I did recall that back in March, you had some downtime in the UK and did some sightseeing around Liverpool, checking out some of the Beatles haunts like the Casbah Coffee Club, which was ran back in the day.
That's right, yeah, that was fantastic.
How special was that place, considering their place in popular culture?
I didn't even really know much about it. I've done a Beatles tour once before as a tourist years ago, and went to the normal places people go to, and the Cavern or where it used to be, and where they used to live, all that kind of stuff. Didn't know much about the Casbah. I did see something in a museum about an earlier place, the Casbah. Didn't really say that much about it. But the Casbah is actually where the Beatles were formed and got their start. And it was almost their private little clubhouse. Pete Best, the drummer, his mum and dad owned the building, the house, a big house where the club was down the bottom. They renovated the whole bottom of this big mansion to the Casbah Coffee Club, and that's where they started. And they actually painted the rooms themselves, the Beatles, and you can see all the colours are still there where they painted it, and where John scratched his name into the ceiling. John is back after they'd been to Hamburg, and that they got back. I mean, that's where the Beatles started, right there. And they hung out there. That's where Big Best Mom and Dad owned. They got gigs in the Cavern later on. So
sure.
It's the Casbah Coffee Club. That's where you got to go. If you go to Liverpool, of course, go to where they lived and Penny Lane and all that kind of stuff, which is all fantastic, and Strawberry Fields. That's all there. And but the Casbah Coffee Club is fantastic. And now, and I met Rogue Best. That's Pete's brother. When I was there, and Rogue, he took me all over the Casbah Coffee Club and showed me everything, and it was incredible. A lovely man too. And Rogue's now opened up a Beatle museum, actually right there next to where the Cavern was, right in the heart of Liverpool as well. So he's got the huge Beatles museum, 3 stories there, and of course the Casbah Coffee Club as well. So there's just so much to see. The huge statues of the Beatles down there by the port, the wharf there, unbelievable. Liverpool's an incredible place, and still Beatlemania wherever you go. So I was living just south of the Mersey River, staying with friends while when I was touring in Europe. When I had a little bit of downtime, I'd go and stay with them. And there's just so much there. So just contact Rogue Best, ROAG, Rogue, and he'll look after you.
I visited Liverpool a couple of times in the early 90s as well, but the Casbah is kind of unique in that all 4 Beatles, as you mentioned, decorated the walls and ceilings with artwork which still remains. It's great that these places are preserved.
Incredible. The original Cavern's not there anymore, which is a pity, but the Casbah Coffee Club's right, it's there, all as it was. As they painted it, as John scratched his name on the ceiling, and the old piano that they used to bang on. I mean, it's just amazing.
Maybe the city of Sydney could take a long hard look at that and as I've mentioned before with you, look, preserving places like Checkers and a whole lot of
It's gone.
AC/DC around Sydney.
They tore the guts out of Checkers a long time ago and all that sort of stuff. But the Sydney really hasn't done anything about preserving anything of AC/DC because AC/DC is a Sydney band and there's so many different holy sites, as it were, as far as AC/DC is concerned around Sydney. Melbourne sort of took a leaf out of it and called the place AC/DC Lane and all that kind of stuff. When they're not a Melbourne band at all, a Sydney band. But I approached the council, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, I think, about doing something, putting some plaques up around Sydney. I could show them all the different sites with our first gigs, our first record, everything. But they didn't do anything about it. So which is a real pity. But fans from around the world know where Checkers is and where other sites are, and when they come to visit Sydney, because of my Facebook and that, they go to the sites themselves. And Victoria Park, they go there to the ceiling there of the swimming pool where Angus first put his schoolboy uniform on. So they know the sites, my fans, from my Facebook, and when they come to Sydney, they go there themselves and have photos taken. But there's no plaques, there's nothing, which is slack.
Reflecting on the Fab Four for a moment, Dave, what would be your go-to Beatles album and why? And I guess the one you always gravitate to if you want to crank some Beatles.
Oh, look, it doesn't matter to me. I love them all. I haven't got any favourite Beatles anything. My favourite Beatles song is the one that happens to be playing at the time. They're just all fantastic. I remember when I was a little kid, I think I was still in primary school, just about to go to high school when I first heard the Beatles and saw photos of them and that kind of, and, of course it changed my life forever as it did the world. And I used to sing all their songs. Go and walk on the way to school. I'd walk around the school singing all their songs. But you look at how they changed. I mean, Sgt. Pepper's album really changed the world as far as music's concerned. They used different instruments and trumpets and all sorts of things. And of course, then they started using the sitar, I think, before that. That really revolutionized everything. But Sgt. Pepper, I think, was a milestone in all of their albums that really changed everything. The psychedelic thing came into being, and just before that, they brought out a single, the Penny Lane Strawberry Fields single, and they had a photograph of them on there with moustaches and beards and stuff, and we all thought they were false moustaches and beards because no one had moustaches and beards in those days. And we thought, it's great, they got false moustaches on. Well, they didn't have false moustaches, they grew it themselves, and that revolutionised everything, and everybody started growing moustaches and beards, and they changed the world. So I think Sgt. Pepper was the album that really made people think, actually, outside the square, as we say, It's like the mind started bending and that kind of stuff with Sgt. Pepper's.
I've always thought that your vocals would do justice to a song like Helter Skelter. Just a thought I would throw.
Oh, yeah, that's a real rocker. Absolutely. Oh, boy. I mean, Paul McCartney, what a voice. I mean, he can sing the most beautiful ballads like Yesterday, beautiful voice, and then knock it out, with Helter Skelter, Hey Bulldog, incredible voice. Amazing. And of course, John Lennon the same. John could sing a beautiful song and then just really hit it out, Good golly, Miss Molly. I mean, the Beatles were just, what can you say about the Beatles? There's the Beatles and then the rest of us.
Interesting fact, Dave, that the Texan town of Tenaha, located in Shelby County, was established back in 1886, is located 175 miles from Dallas. And back in April, they presented one Dave Evans the key to the city and made him an honorary police officer as well. Incredible recognition there, mate, for all of your work, your contribution to the Texas live scene over a number of years.
Yeah, that's something. That's probably one of the most special things ever happened to me in my life. I lived on and off in Texas for 10 years, and I've done a little bit of work there in East Texas too. And I was in Europe earlier this year and got a call from my good mate and ex-drummer, Joey Hudnall, who had rejoined the police force, and Tenaha was being inaugurated, and he rang me and asked me if I could get to Tenaha for the inauguration, and wanted to make me an honorary police officer, and I couldn't believe it. Because Joe's a friend, a mate, and I said, "What about the chief? Does the police chief know anything about this?" And he said, "Well, he's standing right next to me." And I heard, "Hi there, Dave. It's the chief here." And I sort of went, "Wow." He said, "Yeah, we want you to come, and if you can make it, and we want you to be a member of the Tenaha Police Force as an honorary member. You get your badge and whatever else you need." And I just couldn't believe it. And I looked at my itinerary, and lo and behold, couldn't believe it. That weekend, I had off because I was touring in Europe, and that particular weekend, I wasn't working. And I said, "Well, I've got the weekend free. I can fly down to Dallas and get out to Tenaha." They said, "We'll pick you up in the police wagon. Don't worry about it at the airport." And I said, "Okay." I said, "I'll do it. You come." So yeah, I flew from England down to Texas, and it was an incredible day. It wasn't just to make me a police officer and give me the keys to the city of Tenaha, but there was a lot of different awards going on at the time, and it was the inauguration of the actual police department there in Tenaha. And I met some incredible people. Natalie Harris, she's the mayor, fantastic woman, beautiful woman, and of course the police chief and my fellow officers as well. And it was an incredible time. I was in a bit of a trance in a way. It was incredible to be up there in front of all the police officers and their wives, their families, and the politicians. The politicians were there too, Texas politicians and all that. They were all there. And to be the only non-American in history to be made an American law officer honorary was also unheard of too. So the others that's worth highlighting. The only non-American citizen in history to be made an honorary American lawman. Police officer, American police officer. That's right. The people like Elvis Presley, of course, was made honorary police officers. Chuck Norris, and there's quite a few different Americans have had that amazing honor, but I'm the only non-American to ever receive such an honor, and it's also official. I can call myself Officer Dave Evans. That's my official title. So that's all fantastic. I've got a beautiful badge. Incredible. You've seen them on Law and Order when they flash their badges. I used to sit there and watch Law and Order and go, "I wish I had one of those badges. They look fantastic." Well, now I've got one. So that was all fantastic. The key to the city as well of Tenaha, and I'll get back there again as soon as I can and help out with community service and that kind of stuff. It's non-paid, of course, and but when I'm with the department with my fellow officers, I'm on official business. So it'd be nice to get back and help out with the kids and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the officers have just helped to raise 200 bicycles for underprivileged kids. I've got on my Facebook, and they've just given out the bicycles to 200 locals there in the town of Tenaha. So they're putting back into the community. I know them. I know these boys. I know Mayor Harris. She's a fabulous woman, and they really care about the community. You're still going to get a ticket from them. Don't worry about that. But,
well, I was just going to say, the motto is if I drink too many Dave Evans beers, I might want to.
Well, you never know. If I'm down that way with one of my officers,
Officer Evans,
you might get a very stern warning. I don't know.
Actually, Dave, there is some video footage online of yourself performing that day, which I would like to direct listeners to, which has, as you mentioned, Sergeant Joey Hudnall behind the drums.
On drums.
In uniform, no less. And when I saw it, I thought this is so cool, and just another amazing piece to the Dave Evans rock and roll story.
They were all police. All those guys on stage were police, including the pipers. They're all police. So you've heard of the band The Police? Well, this was the real police. And, of course, I'm also a police officer as well, even though honorary, but I'm a police officer. So the band was the real police. And forget about the other band.
Well, just watching the video, and if you excuse the pun, it also made me think that it is a long way to the top, but it's also a hell of a long way from Charters Towers as well. And if you get my meaning, your rock and roll journey has been and continues to be a fascinating one.
Yeah. Charters Towers, nobody even knows where Charters Towers is, really, unless you're around that area. It's northwest Queensland, an old gold mining town. It was very historic back in its day, very, very historic. And that's where the family moved to when I emigrated with my family as a little boy to Australia from Wales. We went to Townsville first for a few months, and then went west. Go west, young man, to Charters Towers, dry place and very brown. Everything looked brown to me, coming from the green valleys of Wales. But I grew up there, went to school there as a little boy and high school, and ended up actually in my first band in Charters Towers, still young teenager, and I used to play the local hotels there, even though we weren't old enough to drink. You got to be 21 in those days to drink, but they allowed us in there because we were the band. So we did local pubs and local clubs and that kind of thing. But always had great ambition to be a rock star, as it were, back in those days. And it was we didn't even have traffic lights in the town. It was just a small town. But I left there as a teenager with ambition and went to Sydney and continued my music career from there, and that's where it started.
We covered a whole bunch of that stuff back on show number 13 if listeners want to check that out. But I guess, going from those early days, did you have to pinch yourself? Do you sometimes, I know you've had a busy year with a lot of highlights, but just standing there watching that video on stage with those police officers, do you have to pinch yourself and say, wow, it's, it is a fascinating thing, some of these things? Oh,
it's an incredible journey, of course. But the thing is, I was always driven from those early years, driven to, I used to dream about being in the Beatles. I dream about there'd be 5 of us on stage. I'd be one of them. So it was something that, it wasn't just a dream, because you make dreams come true. I'm one of those people that have had impossible dreams since I was little. And I just worked really, really hard and with a belief and knowing it's going to happen. And I've made these impossible things come true. And you've only got to do it once, and you can do it twice and 3 times and 4 times and that kind of thing. So it's just hard work, dedication, belief, and knowing that you can do it. You just need the opportunity and learning, of course, learning all the way. So I don't pinch myself. I look back, fondly at those times and sort of smile to myself, going, I had those dreams and they're realities. But I do speak to people about positive mental attitude and belief and more than just belief, it's knowing. If people can dream about something, we all have dreams. And some people believe and that kind of stuff, which is you need to believe, but you got to know something. You got to know you can do it, and that's even stronger than belief. With my guys and my bands all around the world, I teach them PEDC, power, energy, dynamics, conviction. They all know PEDC, and I've gone to some of the rock schools around the world as well, and met the young kids and encourage them all with the PEDC. And it's not just with music; it's with life in general. Power within yourself, the energy you got to have, the dynamics can't be the same, and conviction. It's got to be real. So all of this stuff is powerful, and it's all my own stuff from what I've learned during the years.
That positive attitude of yours is what a lot of fans, obviously they love the loud rock and roll and the great music, but they also love that. I think a lot of them love that positive attitude which you exude.
Well, they do. It comes through my songs. My songs are all positive, as you've seen and heard me perform, and you've got my music. It's all powerful. It's all positive, and that's the way I am. It's the way I've always been, and I try to encourage other people to have that same attitude. And the crowds out there, even if I've never heard of PEDC, they can see it happening on stage. And the songs are all positive and empowering music and that kind of stuff. So that's why I guess I'm still touring all around the world. More and more, had to knock back 2 tours this year. I had to knock back Mexico, and I had to knock back Peru because I just couldn't fit it in. At the end of the year, I just had enough, and I just knocked those back. I mean, who's heard of people knocking back tours? I mean, it's incredible.
Mate, I was exhausted just looking over at some of your gig dates in the past 12 months. The month of May saw you back in Finland, I believe, and doing shows over there, Helsinki, Hyvinkää, and other cities supported by your Finnish badasses. What was it like to be back in Finland? Big rock scene over there, and they just love their loud rock and roll, don't they?
Yeah, Finland's great. As I said, it's hard for me to talk about any particular country, really, because they're the same all over the world. People love this music. I work with beautiful people, absolutely fantastic people. I love all my boys all over the world, and of course, all the fans. I love my fans. Finland's fantastic. The country's different to other countries, of course, but they're tough boys, those Finns. They're big guys, big, some of those massive blokes, they crush your hand when they shake hands with you, so you got to be a bit careful. Great guys, fantastic guys. As I say, that all my guys are just the best guys.
I know, looking over your in researching this interview, that you caught up with a guy called Remu Aaltonen from the iconic Finnish outfit known as the Hurricanes. Now that name may not mean much to some, but in that part of the world in particular, he and that band, whose history dates back to 1971, are revered.
Absolutely. He's a legend up that way. I didn't know of him either, but I met him the last time I toured over there as well. He came to a show, and they'll go, "Oh, Remy's here, Remy's," and I didn't know much about it, but I gave him respect, even though I didn't know of him. I obviously knew that everybody else did, and so obviously I gave him great respect. He's old these days and walks with a cane, but he was a tough, strong gypsy, that guy. He was real badass in his day there. And he loved me performing because I was tough, and of course he was tough, real tough gypsy. And so he loved my badass attitude. And so when I was there again earlier this year, there was Remu, who's back, and he just loved it. He told me that he loved me. He said, "I love you, Dave." He said to me, "You're the best." And I'll tell you what, coming from Remu to say something like that to me meant a hell of a lot. And that was a huge compliment from him. Yeah.
The Hurricanes are a band who listeners should, I think, go and search out. Many Finnish rock bands acknowledge them as pioneers of Finland's rock scene, including Andy McCoy from Hanoi Rocks fame, who apparently stated that the 1970s and 80s, there were only 2 real Finnish rock bands, Hurricanes and Hanoi Rocks. So there you go. Dave, I know...
They're a rockabilly band, and I've searched them. I went back and got YouTube, of course, once I heard about Remu, and boy, they were good. They were very, very good. They were a great band. And he's a drummer. He sang too, and he was a tough boy, Remu. And the other 2 boys, they were great as well. So they were a great band, yeah.
Dave, I know you run into a lot of fellow musicians on the road, but this past year I also spied a photo of you hanging out with Dee Snider from Twisted Sister fame. How did that meeting come about?
That was from a few years ago. Actually. I was in Norway, did a huge concert in Trondheim, and Dee was the headline act there with his band, and there was Darkness was there as well, and a couple of other bands. It was a big concert, and I met Dee, and Dee said, "Oh, he's a huge AC/DC fan. He's happy to meet me," and I was happy to meet Dee as well because he's a great character and all that kind of stuff. So. I checked him out when his band was playing, and Dee came down and checked me out too, as well.
I brought him up, Dave, because he's a guy, in my opinion, who has always had a similar work ethic to you, and not too dissimilar in the vocal department either, in my opinion. You both
and he rocks hard on stage too. I mean, he came down to check me out. And then I saw him performing. I thought, he checked me out all right. He's going for it. But he's a great performer. Similar in a lot of ways. I recognise the similarities myself. I went, he uses his mic stand similar, and he's the energy. He's got the PEDC going, and I'll give him a lot of respect.
Dee Snider touring Australia early next year as well. People might want to go and check that out. But I know that you also headed back to Italy. You performed in Sicily. That's 2 consecutive years of doing shows there, correct? Yeah,
that was fantastic. Italy, of course, is fantastic, and Sicily especially. and the Italian people, especially in Sicily, Sicilianos. I just love those people. And Sicily itself, the food, unbelievable food. If you've ever been there, you know what I'm talking about. The Mediterranean Sea, wow. You know, I was swimming around in the Mediterranean Sea. No sharks. I couldn't believe it. I was swimming right there going, this is fantastic. Beautiful. You know, just like Australia. The coastline looked like Australia. Blue skies, fantastic. No sharks, fantastic. Yeah, wonderful.
After Italy, Dave, I believe you hit Romania. On the 28th of July, you headlined Rockfest, and on the 10th of August, you played at the Stonebird Festival located in a region called Corby. Festival aside, the scenery and location around Stonebird looked absolutely stunning.
Oh, yeah. It was absolutely incredible. I went there before they built the stage and everything. I had a look. It was a natural auditorium, incredible mountains all around. And, it was just fabulous. I was interviewed there before they started building Stonebird. It was the very first Stonebird festival, actually. Some of the other festivals that I did over there, they had the festivals before, but this was the very first one. And the mayor of the town there, Corby, what an incredible man he is. Fantastic guy. Talk about PEDC. That guy's got power, energy, dynamics, conviction all over the place. He's an amazing, amazing man and funny guy as well. And they built a road up the mountains. Yes, let's build a road. It was only dirt. They went, no, we're building a road. So built a road up there just for the festival, put all the electricity up there and stuff like that. And it was an incredible festival for the region. It's going to be every year from now on. And I think I'll be going back again next year. But yeah, fireworks and stuff. It was just an amazing festival. But I've done so many amazing festivals over there this year. But this was a new one. And Danny, who's with The Rock, very close friend of mine, fantastic guy. He was the one that approached the mayor of Corby about it. So Danny from The Rock. And a couple of his friends were the ones that instigated the actual festival, and the mayor jumped straight on board. So it was personal to The Rock. Not only did we headline the festival, but it was very personal, and it was a fantastic success. And wow, yeah, I know, amazing.
There was a headline in the local press which I found, which says it better than I can, and it simply stated, "Thousands of fans sang alongside the first AC/DC soloist in Corby at the biggest rock festival in the countryside." That pretty much sums up the festival. Yeah,
look, it was incredible. And because you never know when you're putting on something new, for the first time anyway, you never know exactly how it was going to go. And I spoke to Danny and the mayor and that, they're all positive it's going to happen. But, I know Danny was a little bit nervous, of course. But I tell you what, it just went off, and it was fabulous. Oh, wow. And as soon as the festival was over, they virtually started planning the next year's almost immediately, as you have to, bigger and better and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah. And Danny's actually from Transylvania, Dracula country. And so I visited Danny's hometown, which is only just a stone's throw from where Dracula was born. I visited the house that Dracula was born in. Incredible.
Wow.
Went to the room where Vlad Tepes was born, still there, and right next to the castle there, a different castle. And it was an incredible experience to go in there and to be right there where Vlad the Impaler was born. Incredible. So what can I tell you about this year? It's been amazing.
Well, let's talk about some of the South American dates you did recently, in particular Brazil, where you have a massive and loyal fan base. Their love of hard-driving rock and roll really is a force to be reckoned with, isn't it?
South America. As you know, I know you'll touch it later. I went to Argentina and Uruguay. They're just absolutely wild about it. They're just incredible. And Brazil, it's my second time there, of course. My first time was fantastic. This time was even better. I had 16 dates all over Brazil. The people are incredible people. What can I tell you? And it was just an amazing time. As I said, the whole atmosphere. And they're in the southern hemisphere, same as us, similar weather to us. and parts of Curitiba and even Sao Paulo the cities themselves look similar to Australia. So it's got an Aussie feel as well over there. But the one thing that's fantastic about Brazil that I love and unique anywhere in the world, that they're all Brazilians together. I know we try to say that about Australia, that we're Australians all together, that kind of stuff. But over there, doesn't matter. All people mixed together, and they're all one people. I've never seen it before. I mean, really, one people. It's unbelievable. And they're all happy together, beautiful people. I just love Brazil, and I love the Brazilians. They're just fantastic.
I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but was the promoter Andre Smirnoff?
Yes, Andrea Smirnoff, that's right.
Okay.
And
he's gone on record. Sorry, Dave. He's gone on record as saying, "I believe this is one of the greatest tours of an international artist on Brazilian soil." Pardon the pun, but his comment speaks volumes about those recent run of dates. Really does.
Yeah, that's right. It's probably the most dates of anybody international ever. Because the first tour I did a few years ago, I did 4 shows over there, which were fantastic, and this time it was 16. It just ballooned, and so yeah, and of course with the merchandising, it had never been merchandising like that before anywhere. Like it was incredible. The beer and the rest of the stuff. It was just words sort of fail me really.
Well, I can sum it up because just from researching, and it's safe to say that Brazil got hit by some Dave Evans mania. They really did. With a whole bunch of items, everything from the beer we spoke about earlier, cables, a microphone. There were
microphones, and those microphones were top of the line microphones. As I said, they weren't just a whole cheap microphone. The top of the line microphones. All the merchandise, Dennis, it's top of the line, A-grade stuff. It's amazing.
Billboard signs advertising the shows, lots of local press coverage.
Yeah, I know, amazing.
TV and print media. I mean, so much love and respect for you down there, isn't there? Incredible.
And it happened again when I hit Argentina, because I didn't know, really, because Argentina and Brazil are different in the ways that one's Portuguese settlement originally, the other's Spanish, and they speak different languages, and I know it's a similar part of the world, but Portuguese and Spanish people are different. They're not the same. Mm-hmm. So I didn't really know how it was going to go, but I tell you what, as soon as I crossed the border, got off the plane in Argentina, the place went nuts again. It was just mayhem, like you had to get bodyguards and things to get through the crowd and stuff. It was just, it was my first time there. And then the same thing when I went to Uruguay. It was a real surprise packet because they knew that I toured Brazil before, and they knew I was in Brazil, so they were really looking forward to me coming to their countries as well. And the respect and love that I got from all of those countries, I can't even describe it to you. People wouldn't believe it, and the love that I have also of those people. They're just incredible. I mean, smiles. Look, I can't even explain it. You have to go there, man. You have to go there to know what I'm even talking about,
Well, I know I quizzed you about doing a book, 3 odd years back, but by gosh, Dave, the chapters are still being written, aren't they? I mean, and obviously no signs of slowing down. It's a wonderful thing.
It's amazing. History's still being written every day. It's as you can see, I'm in Australia now. The year's been, what can I tell you? It's just an incredible year, and I'm just so glad to be here, taking a well-earned break.
It's great to be able to reflect on the past year's achievements. Mate, some of the festivals and large crowds you played at in recent months, especially in South America, looked remarkable. Do any of those larger shows in particular stand out?
Look, whether they're smaller shows or bigger shows or huge shows, it's the same enthusiasm with each show. There's no show that's a bit slack. They go nuts from the very beginning. So whether it's a small crowd going nuts or a big crowd going nuts, it's the same. It's the music. It's the message. If there's 500 people, the message gets to them. Bang! They go nuts. Whether there's 10,000 people, the message gets to them and they go nuts. So small, large, it doesn't matter to me. I give the same. I give the same amount of performance and energy to the whole lot of them, and I get the same back from all of them. It's just the way it is. It's amazing. Yeah.
Dave, I believe whilst in Brazil you did a charity cancer event for cancer research, also visiting the Madalosso Hospital Children's Cancer Ward, putting a smile on many faces. Can you tell us more about that one?
Yeah, that was pretty special. I did, I did a charity event there. I don't, do too many charity events, but I did this one for cancer research for children, for the hospital, and it was the largest hospital of its kind for children in Brazil. And after the concert, I was invited to visit children, and which I did. I was very happy to go there, and met all the nurses and the fabulous doctors, like incredible life-saving people, all happy and smiling. And then I actually went, which was pretty hard at times, to visit the kids and shake their hands and say, let's rock and all that, and get photos taken. They're all smiling. And it was just a small thing that I could do to help them, but they loved it. The nurses and doctors were very happy that I was there to bring a little bit of rock and roll cheer to these little kids, and they were there with their parents at times too, holding hands, and it was a pretty emotional kind of visit, it's a wonderful. I suppose, privileged really to be able to give a bit of cheer to these poor people. It's not their fault they got cancer, and it's hard to describe it really, but amazing.
Earlier on, I mentioned chemistry between you and some of your backing outfits, and that is noticeable with the live videos from Brazil I've watched online. Now, a couple of guys there named Luciano and Yuri from your Brazilian band, I believe both sound great. Luciano in particular looks like a ripping guitar player, and I guess I'm picking him out because many folks need to be aware that he's from an outfit called Moto Rocker, a band who supported you quite recently and have done opening slots for the likes of Kiss, Iron Maiden, Guns N' Roses, Nazareth, Motorhead, and Deep Purple, among others. They also They also shared a bill with you about a month back on the 16th of November.
We got a loan from Luciano for the project. Of course, last time I toured over there, I had another guitarist, so he wasn't available. So Luciano Pico was recruited from Motor Rocker. So thanks to Motor Rocker for loaning him to us. And of course, he's a great guy again, fantastic guy, and a great player. And Motor Rocker did quite a few shows with us as support acts as well. Great bunch of guys, very well credentialed. They're very famous in Brazil, and they're real rockers. Great guys, and it was a great camaraderie between the two bands, especially with Luciano playing with me.
I hear a lot of the early AC/DC sound in that band, and they're an outfit who I reckon most of our listening audience would really appreciate. So you mentioned you did some shows with them. There was an AC/DC day as well on the 16th of November in Curitiba. Now, I guess unless people have visited Brazil and South America, most people are unaware just how massive AC/DC and godlike the band's music is, do they?
Yeah, of course. And they had an AC/DC day there, and of course, being one of the founding members and the original singer, it was for them. It was fantastic to have me headline the show, and it was great. It was fantastic. Everybody's happy. I mean, my job is to make people happy, and that's what I do all around the world. And it's a fantastic and unique privilege for. Well, it's not unique for other people, but it's unique for myself that I finally realised years and years ago that my job was to make people happy. You know, and once I realised that, it just made my job just so much happier, and that's what I do. So just smiles all around, people happy. It's an incredible thing. And I tell all my boys, don't forget, boys, we are here to make people happy. Even if we sing a sad song, you're going to make them cry, but they're going to be happy because they're sharing the same emotion with you, in public that they usually hold inside themselves, But in a public display of a great song, even if it's sad, they're crying, they love that, and it makes them happy. So our job is to make people happy, and that's what I do.
What I really admire about not just those guys who backed you in Brazil, who obviously have the chops, but there's a lot of I guess it's the enormous amount of respect they have for you and the music. Not just them, but there's a lot of your backing outfits. There's a lot of admiration there.
Well, they love my music to start with. I mean, apart from AC/DC, everybody in the rock world loves AC/DC, but they love my music and they love my message of my music. They're huge fans as well. So, and of course, I school them all. I talk to them. I encourage them. I build them up. I make them feel like Superman, and I make them happy. Again, I make these boys happy. They're so happy to be with me and to get out with the crowd, and they feel so confident. They know that I'm at the front. So let's follow the leader. And so, yeah, I make them happy, same as I make the crowds happy. And if you make somebody happy, you've made a friend.
Am I correct in assuming that a song like Rock and Roll Singer is, because of your very personal and special connection to it, one of the most enjoyable for you to play live? That's my view from afar.
I really enjoy it because it was written about me anyway. Malcolm knew that I left home at 16. I had a big fight with my father over long hair, wouldn't get it cut, and all that kind of stuff. And he wanted me to be in the banker and that kind of stuff, and which I did for a short while, but I cut out of there too. So it was it's a great song. It's a great song anyway. It's a really cool song. So I usually do that in my set because it's personal, yeah.
I don't know whether you've seen it, but there is some very recent footage on YouTube of you in a rehearsal room with I believe it's your Argentinian band before your gig in Buenos Aires. Would that be a pretty accurate insight into how it all works with your touring situation? For example, you hook up with some pre-selected guys, you hit a room and crank out what songs you're going to do together?
Yeah, I like to. I've got to rehearse. I mean, anybody has to. You got to rehearse. The best performers in the world, no matter what they are, acrobats or whatever, they rehearse, and it gives me a chance to go through the music with the guys and also talk to them. That's why, if I haven't worked with them before, that's where I get the big PEDC speech, and I talk about psychology of performing, psychology of what we're doing. And they get to know me as a person and what I'm all about and what we're all about and making people happy and that kind of stuff. So really give them the big speech there, and they love it. They just they can't believe that because they think it's just going to be the music. It's not just about the music. It's about more than just the music. So yeah, get in the studio with them, go through the songs, talk about what I've been telling you about and the audience, the PEDC and all the rest of it. And when we finished, they're just out of their minds. They're so happy.
Dave, let's talk plans for 2019. And I believe that there are some Canadian dates already locked in for April and May of next year.
Yeah. I toured Canada a few years ago. And so there's a promoter there. He's already got dates already for Canada, I think April, May, something like that. They're already locked in. I've got... So I should be going to LA next month to do some recording. I've got some dates around the April, May as well in England. I'm back doing some shows in England again with the Dave Evans Band, to call them over there. And I think Romania, they want me back, and already South America at me about dates as well, mid-year.
I saw that.
I know, and they want me to do Mexico because I missed Mexico, so they go, you got to do Mexico and Chile, so they're not going to let me off the hook. So they want me to do that. So there's a lot of stuff going on, mate, and I'm just trying to have a break. I'm going, whoa, let me have a little bit of a break, but you can't just, the world keeps turning, so I'm looking at all the stuff for next year, but at the same time, going to the gym, working out, going for a run, and and letting my mind just try and get some kind of a rest. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on for next year as well. So I'm just sort of letting it happen at the moment, because before too long, it's going to be New Year, and it's going to be 2019, and so I'm not complaining about it. But I'm just enjoying the break.
I know that you are confirmed, I believe, to appear at the Woodstock 50th Anniversary Festival being held in Smith County in Kansas, August 16th, 17th and 18th.
Yeah,
a three-day
right.
event that includes 50 acts such as Jefferson Starship and Canned Heat, with others to be announced. That sounds like one hell of a great event.
Well, yeah, they contacted me a few months ago about that, and I said, yeah, sure, of course, I'll be privileged to do that. And So that's also been confirmed. I think it's in August next year. I know a lot of my American friends will want to come to that, and of course, I've got other shows being looked at as well around that. So especially up the northwest, Oregon, and up that way. I've got a lot of fans up that way, so that's developing as well. So yeah,
I guess that'll be good. I guess you haven't played, LA and California for some time, have you?
A couple of years now. About 3 years ago, I think I was in LA.
Okay.
And of course, my colleagues in the Tenaha Police Department, they all want to come to the Woodstock Festival as my bodyguards, so they can get in free. So.
Both the aforementioned Canned Heat and the then Jefferson Airplane appeared at the original Woodstock in 1969. Were they acts you were listening to back then, or was it more Easy Beats, Animals kind of stuff?
No. Back then we were listening to all those bands. We were very young, obviously, but Jimi Hendrix and like the Who, they were all there. It was a who's who, if I could say it, of the best in the world. It was I don't know who the hell put that whole festival together, but it was Janis Joplin. I mean, like you name it, everybody was there. It was like a movie. They made a movie of it, but it's like as if they had a script and I don't know. It was just the most amazing 3 days. And everything that happened there as well. It's a phenomenon that can never be repeated. You can never repeat what happened because it was spontaneous. And of course, people went there there's 1 million people, I think, went and they just broke down the fences and just took over. It was cool, man. It was cool. It was happening. It was, and the music was amazing. You can watch the movie now. Anybody can watch that movie now. It's an incredible film, it happened. It happened as it happened. That's what's amazing about the movie. It happened as it happened. It's incredible.
I did purposely mention the Animals there, as I know that you're a fan of Eric Burdon and the Animals, who of course played the Monterey Pop Festival in '67, a couple of years before Woodstock. Might I add that if anyone listening in has not heard your interpretation of House of the Rising Sun off the Judgment Day release, consider that your homework, as you really do need to go and track that down after this interview. In my humble opinion, Dave, it's another track which highlights your powerful and diverse vocal range.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, that's a bit of song that I've loved ever since I heard the Animals version of it, because nobody knows who wrote it. It's so old. And I've done it from my very first band in Charters Towers. But of course I do my own version of the song. And to tell you the truth, it's probably the song that goes over the best of any of the songs I do in my set. Better than any AC/DC song, any of my own songs. The version that I put down, it's that powerful and emotional. It just blows everyone away. Just and they're not expecting it. They're not expecting what's to come. They hear the first, there is a house, with no music. I start with no music. And they're here comes House of the Rising Sun. It's like, no, you're wrong. Yeah. It's Here Comes the House of the Rising Sun, badass style. And it just blows their minds. And and I get very emotional when I sing it. It's PEDC, the C conviction. So when I'm singing it, I mean it. It's real. And that's what's so powerful about it, yeah.
I'm not sure if Eric Burdon has ever heard your rip and take, but I did in fact tweet him a link to that song, so you never know. Now, I did hear a little rumour that the recording you mentioned, you're going to LA to be released next year. Will that be, is it too early to talk about? I did read there was something about working with producer Jerry Gallagher.
That's right, yeah. That's right. Jerry's been a fan and a friend. I haven't met him yet, though, and he got in touch with me about it, and I said, yeah, of course, I'd love to be involved. And he sent me a song that he wants me to do, which I've got. And then I spoke with him only, I don't know, a few days ago, and he said he's got another one for me. So can't tell you what the songs are or anything like that. He said, I've got another one for you. I want you to do. So he's going to send that to me anytime. I could get it anytime now. And so, yeah, I'm very excited about this project. But I'm just keeping it sort of cool, you know. I don't get excited about anything, you know, until I get the airfare and I'm on the plane going somewhere. Then you know. But yeah, it's a great privilege for Jerry to ask me to be part of this project. So we'll see how it goes.
We'll all just monitor your Facebook pages and see what happens.
Of course.
Dave, we should let you get out of here and enjoy the rest of your Christmas break. To so many of us, you're a credit to the art of hard driving rock and roll, and it's been really rewarding to have you back on the show to look over some of your highlights from the past year. And I just know that 2019 is going to be filled with more loud rock and roll, Dave Evans style, which is a wonderful thing. And thank you to you once again for being a supporter of ours. It means a hell of a lot.
Yeah, mate, you know, I'll always support you. You guys have always supported me, and I don't ever forget that. So, Dennis, all the best. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to you, yours, everybody there on the show, and to all your fans out there as well. And I hope to catch up with you again sometime, mate.
Yeah, let's do it. Dave, as you know, every guest on the show gets to select a song to close out with. Why don't you choose something from your catalogue to share with our audience?
All right, House of the Rising Sun. Hit it with it.
Very cool. Keep on living fast and playing loud, mate, and keep in touch.
Love that. Yeah, that was from Brazil. They came up with that for me. I love it. That's fantastic. Live fast, play loud. I'll use that now.
Thanks, mate. Take care.
Cheers, mate.